Right, guys, and welcome back. This is Above Average FPL. My name is Adam, and as always, joined by Baker. How are you, mate?
Not too bad, mate. I'm a little hoarse, a little bit of a cough, but I've just drunk some rum on the advice of a follower, and I think it helps.
I think it helps. Happy days, happy days. Well, I'm not on the beers tonight, unfortunately. I don't need to be, and I think using drinking as a coping mechanism for this game is a bad look. So I realised I reflected on that last week, and yeah, I thought best not to get on the beers again this week. Although it hasn't been the best week for me so far either. My wild card is just not playing how I want to. But yeah, we've got someone to come and join us this week to have a look through the games. So you may know him on Twitter at move78_FPL. We know him as Danny. Danny, how are you, mate?
Very good, thank you, mate. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, it's one of the few pods, as certainly Baker knows, that I watch every single week. One of only probably 2 or 3. So, and yeah, we've watched it grow in the last year and a half, 2 years. I've been talking to especially Baker, so I'm not sure I can contribute quite what some of the other guests have, but I'm happy to be here.
I'm sure you will, mate. I'm sure you will. It's always designed to be just a chat about what's just happened. So you can't really go too far wrong. We don't try not to get too deep into the macro stuff, any analytics and stuff, any analytical stuff or anything like that. We try and contextualize it around football more than anything. And yeah, that's why I get Baker on every week, because he's very good at that. So
absolutely.
So
seconded.
Game week 10 is almost over. We've just had the Everton United game finish. A lot of home wins this weekend across the board, and it's only 2 away wins we've seen and no draws. So which is interesting. I didn't realise that until just now. No draws. No. Everyone won at home apart from Tottenham, who won away, and United have won away. So we'll see what happens.
All of us, lot.
Yeah, exactly. So happy days. Happy days. Hello to everyone that's in the chat. Is anyone in the chat? I don't know.
Yeah, there is.
I can't see the chat. Is it just me?
No, I can see it definitely. Mr. Martin, Andy Martin.
Well, I see like Mike, 8 messages, Isaac. And that's it.
No, there's definitely some there. Might have to refresh that, mate.
Christ, okay, yeah, I will refresh.
James, Christian.
But yeah, evening to you. There we go. It's starting to kick in. Kick in now. Someone's already asked about Ryan Sessegnon being worth a punt. So yeah, we can see you now. No, fair enough. So what we normally do when we've got a guest on is we will get through the plugs and then we can go straight into the games. Does that sound like a good plan?
Let's go.
Cool.
Sounds good.
See you in a sec. Firstly, guys and girls, thank you for joining us. Whether you're catching up with the podcast, whether you're watching on YouTube, or whether you're with us in the live stream, we appreciate every single one of you. And that doesn't matter whether you found us for the first time here today, or whether you're a seasoned follower of the show. Above Average FPL is supported by our good friend Dan. He is at CryptoBlockDan on Twitter. Dan has been in the crypto space for many, many years, doing very, very well. And he's currently working as an analyst with a company who works specifically in play-to-earn crypto gaming. Now, if you're interested in the blockchain, if you're interested in NFTs and the use cases of the technology in the future, then please go drop him a follow. Go ask him some questions. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer anything that you need to know. If you haven't maxed out all your mini leagues yet, there's one more that you can join. That is UAT148. The auto join links are going to be down in the description below. Last year's winner, Jamie Pickett, is in there, so it must be a good mini league to be in, I would say. And we're going to shut entries at the start of the World Cup, so make sure you get in there nice and early and see if you can win it. If you enjoyed the content that you see today, there's a couple of ways in which you can support the channel. The first one is to like, comment, subscribe and review. It helps us promote the channel and it allows us to reach more and more people looking for weekly FPL content. Alternatively, Baker and I are really looking to grow the channel this year. We've had a great 12 months, but we're looking to take that even further. If you wish to support the channel in that way, we have our YouTube memberships open now. We're looking to do maybe better content, more content, anything that we can make the FPL experience better for you guys. We are going to try and do that. Finally, once again from Baker and I, thank you very much for being here, and now we'll get back to the good stuff. Good. So getting that out of the way. So yeah, let's talk about game week. So I've got now, for the first time this season, we've got game week scores and ORs up on screen. We're at that point in the season where Not that it makes a huge amount of difference, but your rank looks pretty good, Baker. So I think we should get it up there on the screen. And conversely, mine looks pretty bad. So, just to show sort of the polarizing differences of a couple of decisions, and maybe just it's so annoying. It's like third season doing it, and it's all about patience, and I have none of it. So it's where I fall down. But let's talk about your game weeks. How have they gone? Who's done well for you, etc., etc.
I mean, the Haaland and Foden show is just paying at the moment, and I mean 23 points like between them, well, with the captaincy, and you feel like it felt like it should have been more. Should have been plenty more. So yeah, that's really the story. Probably the difference is still Foden over the rest, Bowen, Martinelli. I took out Kane. Actually, my transfers didn't work particularly well at all because I brought in Wilson and Zaha and took out Kane and Andreas, who got more points than that. But I wouldn't have got Andreas off the bench anyway. So Salavi worked out. I can't complain, but it is close. Like I know it looks like a lot, but between like 1 million and 50k is about 40 points. It's still very, very close. Good weeks can make a difference, but all good, mate.
All good.
Danny?
Yeah, Danny, how do you know?
Yeah, I was just saying, wasn't I? I had to actually check. I mean, normally any other season I would know exactly what I'd got, honestly. But I think that's, like you said, Adam, this season is about patience. It's just more than ever before. And I almost feel like every Friday I'm kind of, it's like, oh yeah, we know what's going to happen this weekend. We know what teams we've got. We know we're going to captain. So we're almost looking forward to the next week. So I'm kind of already thinking about next week rather than this week. But yeah, it was so kind of pretty decent, I guess. Another green arrow.
So you're up to about 28k. It's good.
28k apparently, yeah, which is great. But again, it's really close, so it doesn't feel like celebrating in any kind of a good start because it's just so tight. But yeah, I sold Saka, which was I knew was going to bite me, and it's I'm not too fussed about it because it was logical. It was always going to happen. It was what I was going to do no matter what, really. It didn't feel good, and I knew it could bite me. And it's a little bit annoying because I feel like Saka's kind of one of my boys. It's like he's not that many people have got him, which helps because it doesn't hurt that he's got such a nice haul. But I went with him over Foden, which was fine at first. Then last week it hurt a lot, and then it's kind of the Foden owners, it made no sense, absolutely no sense to sell him. So just find something else to do, which is probably kind of what Baker did. Whereas with Saka, obviously, it's a bit more straightforward because he had Liverpool and then he's got a good fixture and then he's got a blank. So yeah, I'm not too bothered about it. Is what it is. Team's well set up. Still 2 transfers, which has happened a lot this season. And yeah, I've got Kane. Watching the highlights briefly, he could have had more, so that's a bit of a shame. And then again, it's like the Pope and Newcastle defense things is winding me up because I've got triple defense as well. And it's like I've had Botman first sub. They've had 3 clean sheet wipeouts in a row now since game week 8, all with like one single chance, like nothing that's happened. That penalty shouldn't have been a penalty, I don't think. Yesterday, last week he subbed off the whole defense when they were 4-0 up. So yeah, Botman's blocked Andreas coming in.
It's a shame.
But apart from that, yeah, all good.
Yeah, and then to close it out, 65 less 4 for me, and I'm all out now thanks to Martial getting pulled off after 30 minutes, which, it's frustrating. I make a punt last week, go Sinistera, gets sent off, go punt this week, go Martial, and he gets pulled off after 30 minutes. Thankfully, obviously, he got an assist, but, 2 points from those 2 punts over 2 weeks is a bit annoying. And, I'm still... I would love to be angry about not having the Foden points this week but I had planned to go Foden to Zaha this week. I'm obviously pissed off about last week, but I felt all right yesterday, and yet today feels painful. I think mainly Martinelli's hurt a lot. And again, I was comfortable with that transfer out. Difficult set of fixtures coming up. I felt like the games could be a lot tighter. I felt the Tottenham game was tight until 10 men. I didn't think it was going to be as open as it was today. So, that happens, but I got points from. I've obviously got the Cancelo points, which are great. Even at like 70% owned, they're still good points to get. And then Solanke with 8 points was an absolute dream. So yeah, that's nice at two odd percent owned. And yeah, James sitting on my bench, but not James, Andreas sitting on my bench, which is a bit frustrating. But I wasn't going to play him this week, so I've got a decision to make now with Martial. I'll have a look at my team and see, because the obvious move is going to be to bring Mitrovic in next week, isn't it? If we assume that he's going to be fit and ready for next week. And, it'll be exact money, right? 6.969. So it should be.
He'll drop though before then, mate, Mitrovic. So
yeah, well, hopefully. Well, I mean, either or. I'm not really pushed for cash now that I've sold Salah. So yeah, no, I took a hit this week as well. So that didn't really work out in my favour either. Because obviously Ivan Toney I took out and he scored. And
that's just double pain, isn't it?
Yeah,
like not only does he score, but he then wipes out your double clean sheet because of a dodgy penalty.
Yeah.
But
so I've basically had De Bruyne and Martial come in for Salah and Toney. When Salah went off after 60 odd minutes with 2 points, I was like, oh, this is nice. Martial just needs a goal, basically, and
which he could have had easily.
Which he could have had as well, yeah. And the way the game went as well, he could have been very much involved in what happened. So yeah, that's where I am. I'm a bit of a red arrow, but yeah, a million, whatever. It's all right. It's okay.
Yeah, it's close. It's close.
It's okay. So
let's go game, shall we?
Should we go straight into the games? Where do you want us to? Should we just start with the Everton United game?
Let's do it. We've got a resident United fan.
Go for it. So, data straight from Opta, as always. So showing the XG charts. I think it did kind of feel like this kind of game. Actually, it did feel quite surprised how large that XG is on that goal for Anthony. Does that feel right?
Well,
what's it got it as?
About 0.4, maybe, something like that. It's quite a lot, but yeah, it did feel like It did feel like United were going to win that game.
They looked good. They looked good in that first half, in particular. I thought, obviously, the Iwobi wonder goal from 25 yards, starting things off. But no, they look relatively comfortable, I would say.
Danny, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny one with United at the moment, isn't it? Because I feel like, as a United fan, I mean, I watched the game. I was kind of a bit distracted and didn't see the last kind of 20 minutes much. But, as a United fan at the moment, we're not really looking, well, I'm not speaking for the people, but me certainly, I'm not really kind of looking much at the details of United because we've been such a mess for so long that, the details are almost irrelevant. We're thinking about the fundamentals of the team as United fans, attitude, centre-backs who can actually play in a back four, having full-backs, having a ball playing centre midfield. And they're the things that are starting to happen. And especially that kind of that midfield and having Eriksen in that midfield, it does kind of feel a bit like that these days more with United. Certainly the games that we should win, you kind of feel like we're going to win. We've got reasonable control over the game, rather than just kind of having Fred and McTominay, and it's just kind of a lot of chaos for a lot of the game. Just having someone like Eriksen in there just feels more controlled. And then, I mean, Anthony, again, how good he is as a player for the team and as a footballer, I'm not certain yet because I haven't seen enough of him. But he's certainly a proper right winger, and he's certainly going to be good for FPL. And he's someone with a good attitude. Generally, he's working his arse off throughout. Rashford looks well transformed from where he was. He's still not maybe not quite where he could be, but he is transformed, and he looks fit and sharp and confident. So there's lots of positives still from that game as well. And the big one is Martial. I mean, he just looks so good at the moment, and he just looked so good for the 20 minutes that he was on today. And he's really shocked me just how good he is. I mean, I always knew he's obviously potential and stuff, but he's kind of he shapes the whole attack. I didn't feel that bad when Ronaldo came on. I'm not a fan of Ronaldo being at the club, but because of the way that we're playing at the moment, you just kind of felt like, well, to be honest, we're probably, if anything, might make us more likely to win because Ronaldo's going to stick away a couple of chances that he gets.
Yeah.
Which is what happened. So it's just not nowhere near as messy as it was. There's lots of positive signs. It's still messy. But yeah, I mean, decent. Like you say, we didn't. I didn't really feel like we were going to lose the game.
The balance looks a lot. The balance looks a lot better now with as you're saying with Eriksen and Casemiro in particular. Eriksen in particular, just being able to distribute the ball the way he does, and his energy's always been incredible. His work rate is ridiculous. He will push his body, And we're not gonna sort of his situation in terms of his heart, etc. That won't impact the way he's playing mentally. I don't think at all. He'll just carry on the way he always knows how to play. So that's going to be it's going to continue to be a massive asset for you guys. And as you say, Anthony's come in and looked sharp. He's looked efficient as well, to be honest. And me and Pranil were talking about Martial pre-season as well. And that was it is a shame that he's getting injured, because he looks like he's a more confident person. You could see pre-season, particularly in the socials and everything. You could just see a different vibe about him, just his mannerisms, and his whole aura was just completely different. So, and I wanted to jump on that wave essentially for a few weeks, and didn't get a chance to with the injury, unfortunately. But no, it's a good result for you guys, and it must be nice with obviously Liverpool almost fading into oblivion at the moment. But some tough fixtures coming up though: Newcastle, Tottenham, Chelsea.
They are at home next to, aren't they?
Yeah.
I know it's Newcastle Spurs, but they are at home. It's a tough gig.
Does that mean you can go there though?
I think people like Rashford's the obvious one, isn't he?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I mean, if I had Rashford, I wouldn't see a problem with that, especially in those type of games. They're the sort of games that Rashford, can get anything from, especially at home, as Baker says.
I'm surprised how well owned he was. He's 15% owned. He was in the top 10k, that's decent numbers, in terms of ownership. That's more than the likes of Foden, Bowen, Maddison.
But I was saying the other day, one of Baker, I mean, genuinely, it might be a bold claim, but we said he could be one of the best value players in the game before the season started. I mean, it's pretty obvious it's Rashford, and he was 6.5. But I genuinely still think that he can be that player this season. I mean, Rashford's not like the other midfielders even. Rashford has a ceiling that's as high as anyone's. He's a bit like Son. He's not as good as Son, obviously, but he's one of those players who's solely interested in scoring goals and getting assists, making runs off the last man. Yeah. He can beat anyone in a race, hands down. He's got physically got everything, and he's a player who can score a hat trick, and he'll still be looking to score more. It's nothing to him. He's scored hat tricks many times before. So yeah, he's not just an option. I mean, the two best options for me from an FPL point of view right now are Rashford and Anthony. By a distance, it would be Martial, but I've never seen anyone as injury prone. I literally don't even have faith that Martial can make it through a half. It's a sad thing to say, but so, and then obviously Sancho last game, he had a poor game in Europe, and it wasn't just that he's not played that well. I mean, I love Sancho, but it wasn't just that he didn't play that well. He's not kind of running enough at the moment. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on there, but he certainly fell down the pecking order a little bit. And again, Anthony is the only right winger we have, pretty much proper out and out right winger, and he's just a shoot on sight player. He's just exactly what you want in FPL. I mean, he's going to score so many goals. And I think Rashford, if anything, might just be a bit better. And he's I don't even know how much Anthony is actually, but
7.5.
7.5. Well, there you go. So Rashford's even cheaper.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely looking at when the fixtures change for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird though, because I mean, I've not got Martinelli, as I've mentioned, and do I compare? How do I compare Rashford to Martinelli at the moment? And obviously the thing in there is the blank, but after that, I mean, between 13 and the World Cup, I wouldn't go Rashford over Martinelli at all. So that'd be where my 6.5 million would go if I wanted to re-spend it again.
And I think if you've got another one, people are doing it on Trossard really at the moment, or they're going up to Zaha, aren't they?
Yeah, they've got Forest in 12, isn't he? Brighton. So that fixture is the target fixture, isn't it? So
right now, if I mean, just thinking off the top of my head, when it gets to 13, because I think Maddison's fixtures change, but apart from kind of Foden, Saka, and Martinelli aside, if I did have a free transfer, if I had a spare place to go, I probably would look at United. I would look at Rashford and Anthony as a fifth midfielder. But again, that's if you've only got two up front.
Yeah, it's just weird this last couple of seasons not really being able to look at United. It's just it's a strange place where you haven't got one in there at least. So cool. Let's move on before we spend the entire pod talking about Man United. Shall we go to the Arsenal Liverpool game? I guess.
Let's do it.
Talking about Martinelli. So Arsenal another 3 XG. So that's over 2 non-penalty XG as well. Obviously, Saka's chance at the end of the first half, very, very high.
Of course it is. It's like 1
he
yard.
just slotted it in from a yard or 2 yards or something. And they're a good team, aren't they?
We're so begrudgingly saying it.
They're a good team. They're a good team.
So good.
So good.
Really good. And again, we go back to this, volume versus quality, and you can just see the size of these chances, right? There's at least, there's two massive ones in the first half, and then a couple of decent ones in the second half before the penalty as well.
It's not the same, is it? It's not the volume team that they were. Is because it's not like they're not having the touches. I think I saw a stat that said something like they had as many penalty box touches today as they've had in the last 5 home games against Liverpool combined.
I mean, penalty box touches, if you look on Scout, I think Saka, Martinelli and Jesus are 3 of the top 5 players in the Premier League for touches in the penalty area. So all 3 of them.
But where last season it was the chances would end up in lots and lots and lots of low volume, they're creating big opportunities and they finish them.
A lot of that was because it was Lacazette, wasn't it? It was Lacazette was the focal point, and he wasn't really. They weren't looking for him, so chances in terms of quality were coming from those wider areas from Saka and Martinelli slash Smith Rowe, and they were more difficult to convert. Whereas now they're actually further. They're actually obviously they're more central. Both Saka and Martinelli, when they're taking the shots, are more central. Obviously, they've got Jesus, who's takes what he can do with the football in tight spaces is phenomenal sometimes, and with the strength that he has.
Do you think you will go back to Jesus? I'm just asking Jesus. Do you think you will go? I'm not sure. Danny's nodding.
Yeah, I don't know yet. He's 8 million. That's not much for a team that's going to produce. He's going to be the focal point. He's a centre forward. I probably wouldn't want to pick him up until after he's had his suspension.
Yeah, I mean, when is the question for me? But it's easy to forget about Jesus. But you just look at it and you go, this guy's 90 minutes every game in the middle of that Arsenal attack. I think he's at like 0.9 non-pen XGI plus XA per 90. It's like second in the league behind Haaland. I mean, he's 8 million. I think it's part of the discussion about Salah as well, isn't it? It's part of the discussion about how much cash have you actually got if you're going to have 2 premiums or 1. But you could argue that he's just top 3 players in the game. FPL, I think. I mean, yeah, penalties. I don't think he's actually still don't think he's clear cut at Arsenal either. I'm not saying it's necessarily Jesus, but there was. I did notice today there's always a conversation between Martinelli and Saka, and they had a bit of a conversation on the side of the camera. You could see Martinelli had a bit of a word with him, and they sort of hugged each other. There was a bit of a Saka, like Martinelli, all right, you can have this one, kind of acknowledgement. So okay,
interesting. Well, that's because I didn't really see it, and then I saw the penalty being taken, and I just saw Saka step up, and figured that Saka was going to be the one going forward, which makes things a bit more interesting from because I hadn't considered Saka really at all out of the attack, because I'd be quite happy to go Jesus and Martinelli and be happy with that as the 2 if I was to go back there, and then probably pick up a defender like Saliba as sort of priority. But yeah, Liverpool.
Where do we start?
I mean, so let's. Would you have Trent at all?
Well, I mean, if he's broken, then definitely no. But even if he wasn't, like, yeah, anyone who's playing against Liverpool at the moment, you're kind of looking at those assets and thinking, well, that's a good option. You know, Danny, we talked about last week about that inside left channel, you know, and it was like, this is going to be really good for Martinelli. It's going to be great. And he shouldn't ever really be looking forward to.
You shouldn't be able to plan an attack on. I mean, literally, teams could plan their attacks on Liverpool defense based on a Tifo video.
Yeah,
like genuinely, just watch the Tifo video and go, right, let's do that.
Let's just do that. Like, and it is. It's like
next week. Like what we doing? We're going. Who plays on the left hand side? Oh, Cancelo, Foden. Nice.
Thanks very much. Can't wait for Foden next week. Genuinely can't wait. But I just keep saying to myself, Klopp's a good manager. He'll sort it. But maybe he can't sort. Like, I genuinely think the biggest problem in the entire team is Jordan Henderson. I think like it's a complete waste of space of a position. And they could have a long time ago just moved Trent into midfield and then not have to worry about the fact that he's a terrible defender. But he was a terrible defender that used to get helped out by a midfielder that was good at covering. But he's now not good at covering. It's just not good, Henderson. Like there's no redeeming qualities about watching him play anymore.
They're just forever getting exposed.
Yeah, so he's completely exposed. I was like, oh, Trent's playing so badly. I'm like, he's got.
And what's going on with Fabinho?
Yeah, why would you not play Fabinho? Like, I don't even understand that. There's got to be something that we don't know there with Fabinho. Like, he's like one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. Doesn't play. And they're conceding goals for fun. Like, the whole thing is just shambles. You know, Thiago can't play. Thiago can't play in a 2. It's ridiculous, like playing somebody that's got no legs and has to come off after 65 minutes. It's like he played 90 minutes today. That's not getting the best out of Thiago. Like, he's a world-class passer, a world-class creator. You put him in a 3 and you say, great, mate, you haven't got to defend. Fabinho and Henderson will do that. And you just put balls through. Put him in a 2 and make him play 90 minutes. He's just blowing. He literally didn't get into the final third at all, Thiago, today. So therefore, you've got no one doing those moves. Tsimikas he's slow compared to Robbo. Like, Robbo is so much drive and pace into that team. Like, Tsimikas is just, he's all right, but
he's a backup. That's basically what
he's a proper backup.
Proper backup.
Yeah, and then what you do is isolate the best player in the Premier League for the last 5 years and stick him on the right-hand side. Don't get him any shots. Don't get him any ball. Like 69 minutes of Mo Salah and he comes off at 2-2. I haven't had one shot off target in the entire game. That's as good as it was. 17 passes. Like, just didn't use Mo Salah against Arsenal, against a team absolutely flying.
Yeah.
It's really strange.
It's really odd.
I struggle with kind of almost every position on the pitch to figure out exactly what's going on and what the answer is.
Yeah.
Like Jota, right? If you said, what does Jota do? What's Jota's strength? It's like getting him behind, good in the air, use him as a weapon.
Yeah.
Like even boring Nuno used him as a weapon. Like you put the big man, he's a foil that runs past him. He's a Sun type player. Like Rashford, exactly what he should be. He's got him playing number 10.
Yeah, no, he needs to be running into the box, trying to find a way to get his head or body on the ball. That's what
he's run around. He's touched the ball all over the pitch, but he's only made 16 passes in the entire game, of which he only completed 2/3 of them because he doesn't pass the ball and had no shots. Like, yeah. What's the point in playing Jota there? It's just it's bad. Sorry, Liverpool fans. But.
So what do people do about game week 12 then? Because, you know, people are holding on to Liverpool players for game week 12, given that people have to sell or bench City and Arsenal.
I think the beauty of it is you now don't have to fear it. like previously, what you'd have expected was that Salah was going to be 160% owned in game week 12 and 150% owned in game week 13. That's what that your mind would have said it's going to be well over that kind of number. And he was what, like 15% owned or something going into this week?
No idea. He's something like 28% in the entire game.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable for the entire game. Like, because 5 million dead teams you'd normally expect them to have him.
Yeah,
and it's going to go down. It's going to go down this week. It'll lose volume. It'll lose pounds. He's already been taken out by 100,000 people on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Like he won't be more than 50% owned.
Oh no.
Yeah. No.
And it's not just that
Liverpool
look crap and that Salah doesn't look quite as good at the moment. It's also that again Haaland has changed that conversation. So we're essentially talking about, if you're talking about game week 12, you're talking about bringing Salah in for game week 12, arguably captaining, although there are lots of good options. But it's not the same Salah then in the rest of the team, not because of how he's playing, but because he's not captaincy, for the following 3 game weeks, which completely changes his value as a player. So if you're bringing him in for 12 and you want to captain him, fine. But what you're doing by doing that is making a decision for the following 3 or 4 weeks as well, because you've then got Salah, which is a lot of money, and it means you can't have, various other players. And there are so many good picks at the moment. So it's like, I'm moving further and further away certainly from 12. I mean, I'm not particularly interested in 12 because I think West Ham is not an easy fixture, and Moyes just knows how to make that difficult for them. So
yeah, but if we saw any kind of use the word form or any kind of output from Salah in terms of outcomes, then he would be a challenge for that captaincy in game week 13, even with Haaland back in there. Definitely, and I think it'd be a lot closer than we're talking about now, which was almost be like we're just going to captain Haaland against Brighton and be done with it. We would be talking about. I think that if Salah had maybe let's just say he'd scored 4 or 5 goals this season already. He would probably be the standout captain in 13, even if Haaland had done what he'd done, because it's Forest, and Forest are terrible. They really are bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have no issues with people wanting to sell him now. Sharik in the chat saying that what to do with Salah, just captain him next week, can't move him out. I mean, you can move him out.
You can move him out if you want to move him out.
You can move him out. There's some places that you can go.
I think it hurts taking him out, mate. I think if anyone hasn't got him, the right move is exactly what Danny said: is don't be afraid to keep moving further away. Keep moving further away. I don't think that anyone should be making plans for him because everyone needs to take some kind of surgery to get him in because he's so expensive.
Yeah.
So there's no point really almost planning. Just like you're doing it because you're going to whole hog it and captain him for 2 weeks. Those that have got him, they're like, ooh. It could be a brilliant opportunity where loads of people don't have him. So therefore you can make, monumental gains in 12 and 13 by having him. So I think you've got to look yourself in the eye and go, if I take him out in 11 when I kind of knew it because home to City, if he bangs in 12, 13, how am I going to feel over Christmas? Like, how am I going to feel when it's got to face into those times? It's a big old decision.
So the last thing, go on.
Sorry, Adam. No, I was just going to say I'd find it hard. I don't think I'd take him out now myself. You've got an amazing player for 12 and 13. And it's those players are cheap. It's not hard to get a great team out. Plus Salah, and he's a nice differential. But as a non-owner, I have had to adapt a lot this season, like we all have. But I would have previously seen that as an amazing opportunity. I would have looked at game week 13 and thought Salah's still going to be really low ownership overall. What an opportunity to captain Salah against Forest. But again, this season, and it's a bit like Kane this week. I might have previously seen that and been like, hardly anyone's got Kane, but Haaland has changed that. He's an animal. It's changed it. It's just not for me at the moment, it's not really worth taking a gamble against Haaland.
Yeah, fair enough. And last thing on this one, just that Colm in the chat said, if Jesus picks up a booking next game week, swapping out for Firmino gives you him for West Ham and Forest, which with no Diaz as well being injured potentially, could be an option because he'd probably play Jota out on the left, wouldn't he?
You'd think Jota goes to the left.
Yeah.
They've got to do something. I don't understand the 4-2-3-1, whatever we want to call it. For me, that doesn't make sense when you're so frail. Well, it kind of does make sense if they went for it, but like they're not playing heavy metal football. They're not playing quick vertical games. They're therefore, what's the point in having 4 men up there? I'd rather if it's 4-3-3 and it goes back to Jota, Bobby, and Mo, then I think it's the right thing. But then you've still got Darwin.
They have to persist. They have to persist with Darwin as well. I mean, he is a very good player, and he's a £100 million player, and he's young. They're going to persist with him, aren't they? I mean, yeah, I would be quite happy to have Darwin in 12 and 13. I'd be happy to roll the dice with that. Knowing that I'm going to captain someone else anyway. He's still hogging the chances. He's still hogging the big chances.
Yeah,
it's so hard bringing a player in for a team in crisis, because ultimately the manager will keep chopping stuff until it falls on the manager, and you just can't trust it. Just can't trust it. I was actually thinking that I would cap Trent in 13. That was my plan. I was thinking, but I was thinking I could take Cancelo out in 12. I could bring Trent in and do that. Mate, you watch Cancelo on the weekend and you're like, Walker's out.
He was so good.
Should we go to that one? Might as well go to City, should we?
Oh, hold on a second. That's not City at all.
That's the wrong Manchester.
Oh, this is not going well. Hold on a second. Let's... This is because the game wasn't finished. The data wasn't finished, so it wasn't copied over. So I've had to just piss around with it.
There he is.
There he
That's
is.
the boy.
How are we doing?
I mean, so good. And I thought they would put him right back when Walker was out, and they play Gomez and stuff, but they just decided to go free at the back and play him up top, basically.
Basically, yeah. Basically. I mean, this was... There's not many games. Well, there are quite a few games for City you could describe this as, but literally a walk in the park. Literally a walk in the park. They're just cruising on a different level.
Look at Southampton's XG.
Like Cancelo is covering Southampton's XG. I mean, they literally didn't have a chance until the 45th minute, which wasn't really a chance. And then they had what, Stuart Armstrong shot in the second half?
I think they had one touch in the box all game.
That's incredible. I mean, and we've been unlucky in games gone by with clean sheet wipeouts for City, and so it was good to having owned Cancelo. Quite a few people took Cancelo out this week, did they not? Did I see that? Did I see that a few?
Hope not.
A few suggestions were to take Cancelo out this week.
Look at you baiting that away. It's terrible, man. The poor experts, mate. They were backed into a corner. What do you do?
No, it wasn't the experts. I was thinking of someone else. Let's get that clear. The experts basically said keep Cancelo. In the
we don't know if we can trust those. We don't know if we can trust those quotes / translations on Twitter anymore. Do we?
Yeah. Anyway.
It's now very hard to sell Cancelo and 12, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
can you sell any of them?
I was I mean, it was one of the options for me was this week going from Cancelo to Trent, which obviously on paper looks okay this week. You basically typically in games gone by with City versus Liverpool, I'd probably fancy Trent to come out with more points. If they played 100 times, just because he's so attacking in those games. He scored in Charity Shield, didn't he? But Liverpool, not the same Liverpool at the moment. And Cancelo on the weekend looked like he'd gone up a notch. He just looked that bit sharper. And it reminded me. I remember like about a year and a half ago, a year ago when Cancelo was really picking up. I said that if a defender's going to win the Ballon d'Or at any point. You know, that's how good he was. I was like, it could be Cancelo. This guy is unbelievable. But yeah, on Saturday, I mean, the way he beats the press with his technical ability every time with a perfect touch, second touch, and then a pass through, and it's just ridiculous to watch.
Yeah. And he was 18 points, could have been a lot more as well, because Mahrez could have had a couple of a couple of goals from his balls across as well. So yeah, could have been more.
They're just different level, aren't they? And
it's just an extra transfer. You know, if you take him out, that's the problem. I mean, how many transfers do we want to book in for 13? You know, it's just certain teams now. It's coalescing. You know, it's like you look at Arsenal and City basically, and you're like, we need to be on Arsenal and City from 13. So how many of these guys do we want to be taking out?
I mean, that is the thing. Martinelli, Foden, Haaland, Cancelo. Like, I've got 4. And if you haven't got 4, then you should have 4. But if you take them out and to get them back in, then you're costing yourself at least 4 points, aren't you? So I feel like even if I played with 10 men, then my 11th man's got 4 points. That's how I'm almost starting to console myself with this one, is do I just play with 10 men and keep the 4? Because by not taking them out, I've gained myself those 4 points. So I'm just thinking it's going to be there, because I think everyone's going to end up, who takes them out, then taking a hit. You know, the average will probably be something like -3 or something like that in game week 13, as people, you know, before they've even started. And I'm like, well, actually, maybe I just let it run.
But you factor into that, Baker, that the people who say have got 3, so let's say Haaland, Cancelo, and Martinelli, which is going to be most people. So that's going to be their bench. So who's going to be their 11th player? Because they're not going to be spreading the cash around. So for me, for example, it might be a Brighton defender or something like that. You know?
Exactly.
So how scared do you need to be about everybody else's 11th man?
Yeah. Well, I said it last week on the pod, like, Foden, while you're mucking about with trying to plan for 12, Foden will score 30 points, and he scored another 11 and could have been even more, you know, and I'm like, how can I take it? I mean, Phil Foden could have scored 30 points. Like, he had the rebound, which he sort of juggled and just put it there. The pass to Haaland obviously should have been a goal. He should have made 60, you know, if he made 2 more minutes, there's another couple of points, you know, he was very unlucky to not, you know, get plus 15 at least.
Although his assist was jammy.
His assist was jammy.
Yeah, I am salty.
Yeah. You're going to want him. You're going to want him in 13.
Yeah, I am kind of half regretting going De Bruyne instead. And I just feel more so because I feel like I can't strengthen my weakest defender now with money, more than anything. And I feel like I'd have a better, because I'm quite happy to not have happy not to have Martinelli, but quite happy to bench all 3 assets that I do have from City. But I'll definitely have Neco Williams against Brighton, which isn't terrible. But Andreas against Villa, they've all got to play. I've got to get Martial out if he's injured now. Well, I couldn't have predicted that, so that is what it is. But yeah, I mean, it's not terrible, but I feel like I could be a little bit stronger if I had the money, and I've currently got. I mean, it's not like I'm short of money. I don't think I've got 1.7 million in the bank, so I'm not scratching around for cash. So
I'd be more tempted to sell De Bruyne, I think, going into 12. If I was to sell someone from City, I would be more tempted to. One, because it's just so much money.
Which is fine. But what, and then so sell De Bruyne going into 12 and then come back into 13 with Foden?
Exactly. Maybe you could do that. Do something for so say you went something like
a great hit that I took this week.
De Bruyne to, but if you went something like De Bruyne to Trossard, for example, or something like that, get yourself 5 million in the bank. You've then got anyone you can move up to, you know, coming off the back of it.
It'd be Solanke to Kane or something like that at some point.
You can do. You've just got a bit of flexibility coming out of it, where you're like, I don't mind that one.
Yeah, Trossard feels like a must for 12 because he's a captaincy option more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Nothing to talk about for Southampton. Haaland's now the most irrelevant player in the game because he's 200% owned and everyone captains him. So happy days.
The most relevant thing about Haaland is that he's starting to eat people's triple captaincies. mate of mine texted me on Saturday and said I'm triple captaining him. He's like, everyone's got him, everyone's capping, so I want to get some advantage, so I'm capping him. And he'll start doing that every home game now. He'll start eating some of these triple captaincies. So it's good for everybody if he keeps eating them away.
Fair enough. That's it. Yeah, fair enough.
That's as much relevance as he is for us right now.
That's fair. That's fair. Southampton? No?
Nah. Move on.
Cool. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go Chelsea or Newcastle?
Chelsea. Get them done. Chelsea. We'll go back to the top. Old school Chelsea, I felt like this. Dismantled them.
Yeah, just broke them down. Just
broken.
Just really fluid. They were really fluid as well.
Yeah. It's just so interesting as well, isn't it? Just like Potter and Chelsea at the moment. I just find it fascinating. But I think it's quite informative, this game, even if you didn't kind of watch it. It reminded us that, I mean, first of all, obviously, it shows that with that Wednesday, Saturday turnaround, that's something potentially got to be careful of with Potter for the future now. But kind of coupled with that is Potter doesn't necessarily, for him, he doesn't need players. It's the system. It's not about which individual players necessarily. He's playing. He kind of simultaneously opens up so many more options, especially in attack, because kind of, again, that system is not just revolved around typically five at the back. It brings in all these players like Pulisic and so on, but obviously also at the same time, it completely rules them out as options.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating, but also, can't see who's really, I mean, even James, I would, if you said anyone, would start on Saturday, I would have said James.
Yep. Only you saw that coming.
I fucking hate him. Yeah, only I saw it by benching him, and I only benched him because I played Sinistera, obviously. But it's exactly. It's all new. It's all new to Potter. So obviously he's coming in with a completely fresh set of eyes, and he's probably been looking at this. He's been looking on the sidelines of these turnarounds, these European turnarounds, and going, thinking how he would manage it in the future if he ever got the opportunity to do so. And he's got a deep squad. They've got a deep squad at Chelsea. So as long as they're playing the way he wants them to play as a squad in training and stuff like that, then he will interchange them around.
And that's what I mean. I think it works for him as well. Taking on such a job like that he's not had before, because of the type of manager he is, that he can do anything with kind of different groups of players. He's bringing that kind of fairness. I'm sure all the players, they all feel like they're going to get a chance in this team, and they will get a chance because Potter's good enough to kind of do that with any mix of players. So it's coming together for him very quickly.
He'll need the results to continue in the right vein of form, because otherwise he'll be pressured on results, and that may change him. But as long as Chelsea continue to tick over, then he can continue to develop his style within that environment. And
I do wonder if we see more rotation in Premier League. He said something in it. I heard an interview he did. I think it was on 5 Live. He did it, and he said something about European games. Basically said he doesn't know the teams. Like, he hasn't had to play European before. He's played in a foreign league, but he's not been playing European competition. And he said something about, we're playing teams. I don't know I don't know how they play. I don't know this. And I was thinking, I wonder if he thinks I just have to play my best team in Europe because I don't really know anything else more than that, other than what the analysts sort of tell me. But actually, the Premier League, I know those teams, and I can kind of think about ways in which I can use maybe some of the squad players to still keep it up. And I just thought to myself, I wonder if that's something we will continue to see, that he rotates more out of Europe because that's his familiar place. Keep an eye on.
Yeah, quite possibly.
So difficult for options then for Chelsea.
Yeah, and again,
I think it's just sort of watch and wait and see. It's tough because they're kind of good fixtures, and now if you're looking at the next 4, although they are 3 of the next 4 are away as well. So maybe this is like a World Cup, like come around to the World Cup and see how they are at the World Cup, and then assess them for when they're back.
You just got to keep James. You've got James.
Yeah. I don't
get any more. Hope for the best.
Well, he's doing better for me this season than he was last season.
So he hates us.
Fucking
hates us, that man.
He hates me. Cool.
Newcastle.
Newcastle, fun team. Newcastle are a fun team.
They're at it, aren't they?
Just ridiculous. Ridiculous. Just hunting players down, just wanting the ball all over the pitch. They're fun. They're fun to watch. And, you know, fine 1.9 XG. That's because, you know, Bruno scores a couple of decent goals. I mean, all their goals are relatively small XG apart from Murphy's. Which is why, I mean, looking at Jacob Murphy's chance, that's really making me question the Anthony chance earlier. Because I can't go back to that.
Yeah,
I've had to change the United one now to the City one. But let me.
Don't we have to go back to it, mate. We got time.
But yeah, the 0.4 chance for Anthony, and then this Jacob Murphy chance from 7 yards out with an open goal. 0.2.
But they were good. They're really good. I mean,
if you compare them, comparing them to last season, last season they were like a 1 XG team conceding like 1.5. Now they're a 2 XG team conceding 1. So,
can you think of many teams that Bruno wouldn't get in the centre midfield? City? Bar that, I think he gets in every team in the league.
Yeah, probably.
And a few top teams could really do with him, to be honest.
Oh, you know, when I watch Spurs, I always think just that player that can make the difference, score the goals, you know, that drive through the middle. He is United. Right up there.
Yeah.
Right up there. You know, it just makes the whole team push forward, and they're a good team. You want a piece of them. You just want them to not concede a goal for nothing. But
like last three games, non-penalty, 0.4, 0.4, 0.6. They're a much better defensive team. They're just conceding annoying goals. Like you said earlier, Danny, just like take the whole defence off last week and concede a pointless goal in the last minute when Fulham were down to 10 men, and then a stupid penalty. So
how was it a penalty?
Let's talk about
over his head.
Let's talk about these decisions.
It's an absolute joke.
Because it immediately rang alarm bells with me though, because it was Newcastle. Because it reminded me straight away of the Eric Dyer one that happened, where that Andy Carroll gets up and heads it back across, and it's gone over his head, Dyer's head, and then he's headed it back at him, and calls his hands up because he's been up in the air.
And that was at the time where we were heading at hands because you just get penalties as well. But yeah.
And so they changed the rule because that was such a stupid penalty. And then they gave one against Newcastle for that exact same thing. Ball comes over him, heads it back across, his hand's still up because he's gone over his head.
Because he's 6'7" and he can't keep his balance when he's trying to jump.
But even if people say, you know, hand over the head thing, but what about the other ones that weren't given this weekend, where there was hand over the head, the Arsenal one today, and there was no consistency this weekend.
It's just, and then West Ham can just handball as often as they like. It doesn't matter. Just do what I like. Just volleyball.
And then obviously Rashford gets ruled out as well.
So we're not bitter that we've lost 7 clean sheets between the three of us.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
7 clean sheets between us. We lost on that, boys. Christ.
Not fun. But Newcastle.
I mean, Trippier's a big one, isn't he? I mean, a lot of people are faced with Trippier with Man United away in game week 12. Some people can, or was it 12? I don't know, coming up, I can't remember. But you're faced with the decision to bench him. I'm not sure you can bench Trippier at the moment, even if you don't think there's a clean sheet coming.
Yeah, I might have that.
It's next week.
This week
coming, yeah. So,
yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. And it's and
you can't bench him.
No.
He just can get, and he's racking up the bonus, isn't he? Like even when they concede, he's in the bonus.
We just constantly creating chances,
just on repeat. And just keeps banging them in.
That cross for Guimarães' goal yesterday was ridiculous, and I know like Ian Wright picked it out on Match of the Day. Mm-hmm. Did you watch Match of the Day, Baker? Yeah. That movement was brilliant. It didn't look. I mean, until he'd picked that up, didn't see it on the game, didn't see it on the replay, didn't see how well coordinated that all was. I did think it was a bit weird that Almiron was taking the corner.
Yeah, I did.
That was the only thing that I did twig. Maybe I thought Trippier took corners, and then and then suddenly.
soon as he goes out that right hand side, you think straight away, you think Trippier. Oh,
Yeah.
what's Mickey doing it? And then just rolls it back. Yeah, I mean, 18 on the baseline he got. That's kind of Trent numbers that we used to see.
Yeah.
And he's doing that week in, week out, week in, week out. He's just, you can't, because if he gets an assist, he's in the bonus conversation. So an assist for him can be 7 points like that. If he gets a clean sheet, he's double figures.
Yeah.
Essentially. He's, got every chance of it. And we haven't still seen he can score free kicks, obviously. All the rest of it.
He looks set and forget.
Set and forget.
Yeah, feels easy to do that.
We have to mention Miggy, don't we? Baker, you didn't hear Pranel's little dig at us on
I didn't hear it.
Last week. No, it's just funny because I was looking before. Obviously we're only joking about Almiron, aren't we? But I think talking about him as an option is only if you need cheap fodder, which nobody does. But have you seen his numbers? Like I was just having a look before. I mean, again, like I say, I'm not suggesting anyone to buy Almiron because he's not an option. He's not a particularly great player, but he's something like he's in the top 5 or top 6 for the players in the league this season for non-pen XG for all players. He's gone to 0.46. I think he's 0.46 XGI, non-pen XGI for the season, but 0.38 non-pen XG for the season.
He's arguably the best value player in the game. Arguably 5.1, whatever he is.
Amazing. So I'm going to clip away the bit that you said we're not going to recommend that you buy him, and then I'm going to clip together all of that justification, and then I'm going to put it out as a separate video.
Arguably,
brilliant.
5.1, 44 points.
Why not?
4.5 points a game from a 5.1 midfielder.
Yeah, playing every game, 90 minutes.
We should say that Brentford did throw the ball basically in their own net a couple of times. I think it's probably just worth saying that. Just as a caveat, that was picked up in chat actually.
But they press so high up the pitch, don't they? The pressing is unbelievable.
Yeah,
that high up the pitch. And Almiron is one. Almiron, he might do some other things not particularly well, but he's good at that. And these chances fall to those players in that Newcastle team.
Yeah,
Pinnock had a mare, didn't he? Give a ball and
Raya had a mare as well, didn't he?
Raya's just rubbish, mate. I don't understand it. How people still want to go with him. They're bad defensively. You can target Brentford all day long.
Yeah, especially away from home.
And you're going to rely on penalties for Tony, I think.
Yeah.
Which he's so bloody good at. But
unbelievable.
Right, so we've now got 3 games to go, 4 games. We still got 4 games. Still got West Ham, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Leeds, Brighton, Tottenham, and Bournemouth, Leicester.
Wow, we have got a few. Bournemouth, Leicester.
We've been an hour, so let's spend a few minutes, only a few minutes on each of these ones, and then we can get out of here. Bournemouth, Leicester.
Right.
They almost got to 1xG. They almost got there. Let's talk about Solanke first.
He only gets his assist because he was given into it by Brendan. 1-0 up, 67th minute. I know what I'll do. I'll take the goal scorer off. I'll take Castagna off. Yeah. 4 minutes later, 2-1 down. How many times?
Just let the other guy. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's not managed. Like, it's the caretaker manager, for Christ's sake. Make him make the mistake when you're 1-0 up.
Exactly.
Like, it's so stupid. Test him.
Look how in control they were. At 60 minutes, you've got it there.
Yeah. Literally changed, and then boom. In comes Billing.
Oh, they're so stupid. He's just so stupid. But, mate, you got your Solanke assists. Take them.
Oh, gladly.
He looked. I only saw a little bit of it, but he did look pretty sharp, to be fair.
Christie, I thought was sharper. I thought Ryan Christie was good. But, mate, that second goal. Did you see Danny Ward? I don't even know what he did. Yeah. He literally just sort of jumped and flapped his arms.
It was like a fake Peter Schmeichel impression.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was like a guy in the pub trying to recreate Peter Schmeichel.
Yeah, exactly that.
It was so bad. It was the worst piece. I was so annoyed that no one mentioned it. They didn't even mention it on Match of the Day, any of that stuff. And you were like, mate, look,
it's not going to happen. It's Gary Lineker. Gary Lineker ain't picking that up. No chance.
So bad, mate. He is so bad.
You know
I
what I'm
love
fearing though? You know what I'm fearing though, as a Zaha owner, having bought Zaha for Saka, I think they play them next, and Zaha's terrible at penalties, and I can just see Ward saving a Zaha penalty.
That is not happening. Or we clip it and we happily take the YouTube views. But it's not happening. Mate, he can't move.
No, it's bad. It's just so bad. It was funny that they got the clean sheet last week, and everyone was kind of using that as some kind of justification. I think we should go out there and say, look, any kind of performance result or anything against Nottingham Forest should not be used as a benchmark to justify any decision whatsoever this season. Disclaimer.
The disclaimer. FPL Spartans in the chat said that it was Sunday League that Ward won. It was. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it felt like.
Yeah.
Just terrible.
The only unfortunate thing, I guess, Sunday League, the ball would have probably got stuck in the mud, so it probably wouldn't have actually gone in and they'd cleared it away. But there we go.
There we go, mate.
We moved on.
Daka,
no, I've moved on. I've moved on.
You moved on.
I've moved on.
Moved on to our beautiful game.
Yeah. That's all you need is one big chance.
Well, we had two big chances, but one of them was offside, turned out.
Have I forgotten that one already?
Well, it was offside, Son's goal.
I've forgotten it.
I only just saw it before. Another left foot, 20-yard ping into the top corner.
Yeah. Oh, that one. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I remember that one actually.
Wasn't that offside? But I
like the look of Son at the moment. I like the look of Son.
You love Son though, Danny.
I do love Son. Yeah. But
this is one of your soft spots. Son and Saka, basically, you can't trust your opinion on them because you just always love them.
Yeah, true, fair.
But I like us like this 3-5-2. I think it's defensively, he was just never looked more solid. You don't get that weird spread and be able to get done on out wide. They just went, have the ball out wide, do what you like out there.
What was Doherty like, and what are his prospects?
Slow.
He was slow, but he was quite doggedly okay in defence. Yeah. Like I thought he was all right.
Yeah, he was all right, but he does look. It looks clunky. He looks clunky. He looks even more clunky than Emerson.
Is it the beard? I think it might be the beard. Partly the beard,
maybe. No, I didn't feel overly comfortable. I'm quite concerned about that right hand side generally. For us, because we talk about the like potential options that we've got, but it's clearly not Spence, or Conte doesn't think so, even though loads of people are saying it should be Spence. But I don't know. It's difficult because you want from Tottenham. When I look at this, if we can create big chances in those, and it's the fullbacks or the wing backs that are creating these chances, then they're the ones that I want, because we're very seldom conceding more than like 0.7, 0.8 XG max. And there's a lot of low volume shit that goes on. And people were saying like Tottenham were terrible. I saw a tweet. There was a tweet out earlier on. I can't remember. Was it Pranil posted something? Tagged a few of us in it. And people were just saying like Tottenham were terrible. We weren't terrible. We were just organised. Again, it's just disciplined. It's not fun to watch. But it's effective. And didn't really feel threatened by Brighton. They had a couple of chances. March had one just go wide, etc. It still doesn't make me want any Tottenham players in FPL though.
No,
like Kane really. Kane is the only one, and if I'm going to go Foden, I can get Kane. That's fine. Yeah, and that's maybe where it is. Maybe the two premiums are just Haaland and Kane. But he's blanked once this season. And he's just ticking over. And he's ticking over, and he can potentially explode. I mean, we've obviously beaten Southampton, scored 4. He didn't return then. That's the only game he hasn't returned, annoyingly. But obviously, the Leicester game, he scored 6. So we can go that. We can go to those numbers.
Yeah, there's a lot of game state bits with us in how we play. But
yeah,
it feels a lot more like Son and Kane in that team. With that, I mean, the brief sort of highlights I saw, it feels like, again, from a broad kind of point of view, if you're Son owner, you're looking at that game, you're thinking, any goals here are going to come from Son or Kane. That's what it felt like to me just watching the highlights.
The 3-5-2 definitely facilitates that, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it facilitates that they set each other up as well, because basically the wing backs don't get that far forward as much. So it ends up going like a long ball to one of those, and then the other one looks for the other one. So you do get the Kane to Son, Son to Kane things. I think that happens a lot more in 3-5-2. Yeah, I mean, I saw that tweet, and there was loads of people saying they were rubbish and it was this and Brighton. Just look what it's showing you. Like, they're not cheated. Like, you walk away from it and you were like, all of the times when it looked like it was going to be another goal, it looked like it was going to be Tottenham. It did. That's not blinkered. It's understanding what you're watching. You're watching a team that's deciding to say, have the ball, and we don't think you can do anything with it, but if we get it, we'll go for you. And that's how the team's playing.
Yeah.
Like, whether you like it or not, I think there's just a massive difference between whether you enjoy what you see, whether you like it, and whether you think it's any good. Should be really, really separate things. Nobody enjoys Atletico Madrid, but we know they're good. And that's what Tottenham are. They're a good team. They still out XG'd Brighton in this game. They still beat them in this game. Will the home team go away thinking, God, we had so much of the ball. I can't believe we didn't win that one. And you're like, well, when did you expect to score? Because look at those chances. Like, they weren't ever expected to score from any of those.
Yeah. Yeah. So somebody's asking in the chat, FPL Swanson, he's probably the closest person to me, actually, out of anyone. He's up here in Aberdeen. Concerned Perisic owner.
Should be.
Yeah. Agreed.
But loads of people went like Perisic to James, and you're like, oh, good. That now looks perilous too.
So would you have it? Would you have a Tottenham defender? No, Danny?
Not at the moment, but I just feel like it's a bit of a shame we can't talk about Spurs more at the moment, just because of 12 and 13 and blanks and all that kind of stuff. Because it's interesting, and if Doherty is given that he doesn't seem to like anyone else on the right, it's impossible to say, obviously, and that's why we wouldn't go there at the moment. But I'm always interested to see how Doherty's doing, because if he's getting into Doherty positions, it's just ridiculous. I mean, and again, with Tottenham's defense, I mean, if he was playing every game,
he was still getting in those positions. He was getting in those positions.
The guy's, we said it before, he's a 20-point player. He's the highest ceiling that there is of a defender, but I don't know anything about him to go there. But Kane and Son do interest me a lot, because Kane's looking better to me than he's looked for a long time. You feel like you're going to get goal involvements from him rather than just play really well. I feel like he's further up the pitch. I like having him in my team because, at any moment I can spread the cash, but I feel completely happy and content having him, because I'll be surprised if he doesn't get some kind of return and he's got penalties. But I still have this thing in my head now that Son might have turned a bit of a corner. And again, it's a shame we can't talk about it, but longer term, I think he is arguably still the second best premium in the game. And that sounds like a bold claim at the moment, but again, it depends on his minutes, obviously. If he goes back to being 60 minutes on, then forget the conversation. But if it's Kane and Son generally outscores Kane, and he's again, like we said with Rashford, that finish on his left foot, it doesn't matter what side it's on. He looks sharp to me at the moment. And again, unfortunately, it's not an option at the moment, but I like him long term.
Cool.
I do think the KDB owners away to United. He's done it before when you thought he was injured. But
Allo on that side as well.
Yeah. It's not the world's worst option, that. Silent 12. No one will own him.
Last two games.
What we got?
Palace Leeds.
Leeds brilliant for 45 minutes, and then Leeds didn't bother coming out for the second.
I didn't really see what changed. I mean, Palace seemed to be getting overrun in midfield in the first half, and it was like Decore on his own, and then suddenly they seem to have control. I think
I would give credit. I made that there seem like it's Leeds' fault that they didn't turn up second half, but I think Vieira did a good job there. They just weren't getting the ball to Zaha at all first half. It was completely non-existent. I was like, just memories of this guy's a trap. Why have I done this? Why have I brought in Zaha? And then they just kept getting him, kept feeding him, and then he stretches. They've got to get him on the ball, because they don't get anything out of fullbacks, do they? Palace never have done, never will do. So therefore, like they're quite easy to defend against and quite easy to push back. You've got to use those wide ones, or you've got to try and drive through the middle with Eze. But as soon as they started getting wider with Zaha and O, then they looked a much better team.
Eze is a big plus for them as well, isn't he? And I think he makes Zaha a much better option. You don't have to have the whole team now just trying to stop Zaha. They've got someone else. They've got someone else to stop, and that makes me a lot more optimistic about owning Zaha. Actually, I hope that he stays fit. His baseline seems to be very high today. I know it generally probably is with Eze, but
Eze is high because dribbles. Like you get like 1 point for every dribble, and he dribbles past about 12 people a game.
Well, that's what I mean. But Zaha tries to do the same amount, doesn't he? And his baseline's not very good.
Yeah, he seems always. I remember
Walsh on FML.
Yeah, I remember Walsh on FML saying that he's completely allergic to bonus points, and kind of when he said that, I was like, yeah, that's correct. Like, why do I ever think I want to go there? But it just kind of drags you in, doesn't he?
You can't argue with this. I mean, this goal scoring record is he's got 18 in his last 39 or something like that. I can't remember, but it's virtually 1 in 2. So 1 in 2, 6 or 7 or 8 brilliant fixtures in a row. It's just
Leicester, Wolves, Everton, Southampton, West Ham, Forest.
Yeah, Zaha's just a
lock.
It's just a good option, isn't it? Edouard's a good cheap option. He's playing. He's firmly ahead of Mateta in that option.
That was the big issue last season, wasn't it? We just didn't know who was going to play.
He's firmly ahead of him, and what is he, 5.3 or something like that? 5.4,
probably.
I don't know what she is.
A lot of people have got Guay and stuff at the moment, haven't they? As well. I'm not entirely sure what to make of their defense. Really, it's difficult because they've had tough games and stuff. But I'm not sure what to think.
Yeah, 5.3, Edouard.
Quite happy to bench Gahey for the. Well, I mean, I'm not. Well, no, actually, I don't really want to because the fixtures are so good. But
yeah, you'll bench him for most and play him at 12. It's fine.
Yeah.
Is it Wolves? Is it Wolves in 12?
It's
I can't remember.
It is home to Wolves.
It is, yeah, home to Wolves. Yeah.
So it's a clean sheet or Diego Costa job, isn't
it? Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Last one. Handballs galore, as we've already mentioned. I mean,
Bones a good pick.
It's a good pick. It's got on pens, definitely.
What was his penalty like? Was it good again?
Well,
went in.
It's one of the. It went in. So if he saw the keeper was going that way and he put it the other, that's a great pen.
Went in. That's literally my benchmark. Goes in, good pen. Doesn't go in, bad pen. Like professional footballer, 12 yards out. That's literally all it matters. It goes in.
Yeah.
I don't care about top corner, this, that, and the other bullshit. If it goes in, it's a good pen. If it doesn't go in, it's a bad pen.
Well, it went in.
That's it.
It went in.
Fulham with an absolute no XG, no Mitro, no party.
No Mitro, no party.
Basically.
At all. Not just even a little bit of party.
Just no fun at all.
But yeah, Bowen, a lot of touches in the penalty box. A lot of proper last season style touches. 2 key passes, 5 shots, pre-blocked, but 5 shots. Missed a big chance. Could have easily been a big haul.
I love him as a pick. I mean, I've said it for so long, but
I mean,
he's one of those guys who's got everything you want in a Premier League, in an FPL, pick. He plays 90 minutes. He's really naturally fit. He kind of needs to play a lot of games. I've said to you, Baker, he's built like Wayne Rooney. You feel like he needs to be running all the time just to maintain the kind of fitness level that he's at. And then he's so aggressive and confident, and he just doesn't seem to have, he just makes the right decisions. He's decisive. He shoots on sight. He shoots on both feet. He's fast. In that system, things go to him down that side, and he's got penalties.
And he scores against big teams.
Oh,
scored against City, scored against Liverpool last season.
I'm perfectly happy to have him in 12 against Liverpool.
Yeah, I wasn't, but now I am. I'm like, hold on, why would I want to get rid of him when he's got Southampton and Bournemouth?
Yeah,
either side, and then he finishes off with Palace and Leicester. I can see myself just carrying him.
Oh yeah, he's going nowhere for me. No problem.
So
Look
glad
elsewhere.
I don't have him.
Mm.
All these players
It's-
that I don't have.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be upset if I didn't have him either, though. I think it's if you've got him, you look at it and say, "What? It's a hard man to take out." If you haven't got him, you still could look at it and go, "Nick, 3 out of the next 4 away."
Yeah,
And that's how you should look at it. That this is one of the things about FPL with so many good picks as well. It's not about who you've not got; it's about who you have got.
true.
So you don't need to be worrying about Bowen if you've got decent players in the row, which most people have in those midfield spots. So it's just that's.
Yeah, exactly.
Checks my check my account. Sinistera. Okay, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, and more just crappy reffing. I mean, Dawson clotheslines Andreas, gets a pen.
Yeah.
Skamaka handballs it a few times. Great
Counts.
finish though. Great finish.
And then
He
Antonio
does look
handballs it.
tidy, doesn't he, to Skamaka?
Again, I still think it's difficult bringing someone like him in when you've got Mikel Antonio staring you in the face there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for me, I'm like, nah, I don't fancy that. It's just one bad game from not happening, or one important, one little knock in a European game that just means it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's why I did that badly timed tweet when I was jokingly suggested, I basically said that sarcastically that I didn't like Daka or Skamaka because we just don't know what the minutes are going to be. So why would you go there when there are so many good players that we do know what the minutes are going to be?
Yeah, that's why you go Solanke, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Or Wilson.
Or Wilson. So if you've got Bowen, good. Don't think you massively need to rush to him. Mitro, not even in the squad. Like, did Silver bullshit us there? Like a lot. Like,
I don't know. I wouldn't do anything until we get some further information.
Further information, I think he said, is that he's not going to train for at least another couple of days.
I mean, he said that he'd reacted badly, so there may have been new information. I think he was inevitable that he was going to be kind of vague because the whole team's built around Mitrovic. So it's an opportunity to bullshit, and you don't know if he's going to play or he's not going to play. But when you watch that press conference, he did almost kind of, the suggestion that it might be out for a long time. He was like, "Oh no, like no, don't worry, it's not serious. We'll very much look at Bournemouth." That's what made me think, to be honest, that he would probably start because it seemed like Bournemouth was fine. But yeah, there might be new information. He said that he reacted badly. Who knows?
Okay.
I mean, brings the chaos if he's out, mate.
And that's
brings
it.
The chaos.
That's all of them. That's all of them. We've got. Thank you for that, Danny. We're going through those with us. It's good. We've just tipped over 200 people watching the stream. So if you have joined, if you are liking what you've seen, make sure you hit that like button. If you want to see more of it, hit subscribe. Yeah. So have you got any? What are your planned thoughts for planned moves this week? What are you thinking for this week coming up? I know we do this pod like literally before the game week's even finished. So
yeah.
So it's always an early one. But yeah, what are you thinking for next week, or have you not quite got there yet?
For me, yeah, I've not got to that point. Look, I've got it in my mind because I've been trying to think about how to navigate 12. Obviously, I've got 2 free transfers. As I say, one option in my mind a couple of weeks ago was maybe Trent in for Cancelo. Not likely to do that now. I was looking at Perisic a couple of weeks ago. That's obviously not an option now. But with the Spurs fullbacks, I think they've got Everton this week, and then they've got, I think, Bournemouth or something after 12. And then they've got a decent, or it's Newcastle and then Bournemouth, something like that. You guys obviously know, but they've got a nice set of fixtures to actually navigate through this tough period. But now they all don't seem like options. So basically, I've got Botman first sub off memory, and he's playing United, which isn't ideal. But then he's got a good fixture. I think he's got Everton in 12.
You want the ticker, mate? I can put the ticker up there. You can see the ticker. You'll be able to see it on the screen. There you go.
Oh yeah, nice one. So one option. I mean, the obvious option at the moment is no. I'll keep Botman, obviously. Yeah, that's it. So I was trying to remember my team, but I've got Nico, so I could upgrade Nico to someone who's just better than Nico, but still cheap for 12. Because I think because I did Saka to Zaha, I've got a little bit of cash there. So someone like Dunk or a Brighton defender is an option. it's a shame, again, off memory for the next two. It's a shame that like Leicester aren't an option, because you've got people like Justin at 4.3. They've got two good fixtures, but they just don't seem like an option. Wolves don't seem like an option because we don't know what's going on there with them at the moment. So it's really underwhelming. I'm not wild about Brighton because we don't really know what they're like from a defensive point of view. I think they're good and Dunk's good, but yeah, so that's in the back of my mind. It might be a small upgrade for Nico. Keep Cancelo. Obviously, I've got Kane this week. I'm leaning towards still captaining Haaland over Kane, even though previously that's not something I would have done. It's
just ridiculous, mate.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, I expect him to score against Liverpool. I mean, that sounds silly, and it might have been silly 6 months ago, but I don't think it's silly now. I mean, so
just look at them today. I think imagine if they did go in with a two-man midfield. Imagine they went in with Thiago and Henderson up against
De Bruyne, Rodri, and Gundogan. Yeah, it's just
absolute battery.
Floodgates. Yeah, I mean, even you say that. I mean, like a few months ago, when we watched them in the Community Shield, they're far different from that Liverpool, even now.
Both teams are far different from that.
Well, true, yeah. I mean, the thing is, City only had one pre-season friendly before then, though, didn't they?
Yeah.
So,
I do think if you're looking at Brighton defenders, I'd go Webster over Dunk at the moment.
Yeah, there's a debate between those two for sure.
He was good against us. He was big on the baseline, 21 on the baseline, which is huge for.
He might be cheaper as well. I can't remember if he might be 0.1 cheaper.
0.1 cheaper, 4.5 be 4.6, but he's much bigger goal threat and seems to be the one on the baseline at the moment as well. So I'd definitely go there. I was thinking of Stupinan, but came off in 67 minutes.
Yeah, no, not for me. Just he keeps seeming to coming off at those times, and all we want right now is to not have to think about that position. I'm not going into 12 with someone that don't know who's going to play 55 minutes. Just
Webster's played 90 every game. Just Webster, mate.
Yeah, so something along those lines for me.
Baker?
I've just got to work out our bench. I've got too many players now. I've got 8 attackers effectively.
What a disaster.
Oh yeah,
exactly. So there's very little chance I end up with a transfer. If Mitro's out, that means I'm okay. But because I've got 5 midfielders now and 3 strikers, I have to bench one of the attacking players, which at the moment is probably Wilson. Just don't like doing that, but Wilson, Bowen, he can't do Zaha or Maddison in that Palace Leicester game because neither can defend. Can't do Foden with how Liverpool are playing. So yeah, it comes down to Bowen or Wilson probably, or Mitrovic if he's out. So Mitrovic, if there's any doubts on Mitrovic, I'll start Wilson. Which sounds ridiculous that you might bench Mitro at home to Bournemouth like that. Have
you got 2 this week? No, you took 2 this week, didn't you? So you've only got 1 for next week. Yeah.
So I want to get 2 into 12. So yeah, I've got to try and keep myself 2 into 12. So okay. I just work it out after the presses.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, I've got Martial to look at basically now as a problem. But apart from that, if it comes to it and Mitrovic is fit, it'll be Martial to Mitrovic, and you just go from there.
If he's not fit, because I know you mentioned it before, but you haven't mentioned Welbeck. I do think Welbeck's going a little bit under the radar, especially with his fixture in 12.
I did wonder that.
Do you want a striker though that just walks straight into City and Chelsea? Like that's the only thing about Trossard, to an extent, is it's like, do I really like? There's going to be people that take out Martinelli for Trossard. That's gonna happen to some people, and you're like, that's tough. There's so many good midfielders out there at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, yeah. I'd have to see I can't see the team, but I don't know if you're stuck with 10 players if Mitrovic is injured. But yeah,
no, I wouldn't be. Oh, what, in 12?
Well, just this week?
No, I wouldn't be because I've got Cancelo.
You've got Sinistera back, won't you?
Yeah, I'll have Sinistera back against Arsenal, mind, but I'll have Andreas as well. Andreas can play against Bournemouth, no problem. Neco Williams against Wolves. Wolves don't score goals, so I mean Forest concede goals, but
yeah, You could
I
wait
mean-
a week on Martial then,
Yeah, I could wait a week on Martial.
because we don't know, do we? I mean, we just
But
assume.
I could just go
because he's out
KD. I could go
injured.
KDB to Son. Go
Ooh,
KDB back to Son. It's
he's treated you well.
fun. Yeah. Well, I've had him for 1 week. Yeah, he's done all right.
He did all right, mate. He did all right.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. Yeah. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. But then last week, as I say, up to Friday, I was on like a roll, and then suddenly I took a hit. So I'm a loose cannon like that. So it doesn't really matter what I say. Like literally, me saying what I'm going to do on a Sunday is the most pointless thing you can imagine.
That's what I do a Sunday pod.
Complete waste of time.
We've got a Friday deadline this week, though.
We have got a Friday deadline. Yes, I better make moves before Friday.
Makes it even more spicy.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we should leave it there because we are been a bit longer than normal. Hour and 27 today. So, but
That's not too bad, mate.
it's been all right.
fine.
It's been good fun.
Good.
Again, Danny, thank you for coming along. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Baker, enjoy it as always.
Pleasure.
Thank you to everyone in the chat. Thanks for joining us. Hope you've had a good game week. Forest versus Villa tomorrow. What a thrilling end that could be. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Cheers, guys.
See you later.